sure what's happening here. That's all right. If you get the gist of it and then sort of find some understanding, I think that you get from it what is necessary. So settler colonialism, indigenous peoples, in settler colonialism, indigenous peoples are to be dispossessed and then disappear. And then it talks about the removal of Cherokee and Choctaw people in the United States and other tribes during the Trail of Tears. Now, I happen to know what that is, but you might want to do a little bit of research here, and Wikipedia would be enough here, but you might take a minute and take a look at what the Trail of Tears was. You can surmise that people were taken from their land and then died, but still it would be worth taking a look. So their land was taken away and settlers took possession of the land and farms. This is the very classic sort of Western movies in the United States talk about this, but usually they talk about it from much more of a settler point of view. You rarely see these situations in these old Westerns as being something where the cowboys were the bad guys, right? The cowboys were the settlers and colonizers. But also, if you take a look at Africa, slavery, it talks a little bit about slavery here and the idea that the enslaved labor of Black or African American people were put onto this land. So the slaves became part of this mechanism, but they certainly weren't a voluntary part of this mechanism. And what ended up happening is that Africans were taken through colonization of Africa as a commodity and brought to the United States, put on land that had been taken through the colonial system in the United States, and become an unwilling part of that colonization. So there was colonization in Africa that started the flow of slavery as, like, people as property. So I think it's very interesting because if you take a look at this article, it's not just looking at what happened here in North America, but it's starting to hint at the fact that colonization was part of how the European colonial powers were able to get the citizens of Africa and turn them into property. So for settlers, it's land, but for Africans, it was more than land. They took some land in Africa, but mostly they took the population to places that perhaps they were more comfortable, and then forced them as slave labor as part of this way to exploit the land here. All right, so